Hi everyone. Thanks for joining Liam this evening and myself. We'd like to talk to you about CRM Analytics, which is the obvious reason that you're here. So that's great. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to really quickly tell you about the next course that's coming up because that is important. As always, I am here to talk to you if you would like to book in some time with me. The lovely Jen, my beautiful assistant, will drop in the link for my Calendly, and you can book in some time with me to have a chat about next steps and if CRM Analytics is for you. So just as I say briefly, just to tell you about the course, it will run over 3 weeks. I was going to say 2 weeks then. So it's the first week is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The second week as above, and then the third week is Tuesday and Wednesday. It runs from, and I think it will be BST by then, it will be 1 till 5, currently GMT, soon to be BST. So if you want to join us for that session, it will all be recorded, so you can absolutely watch it on record if you don't make it for the live sessions. But if you're thinking about signing up, book in some time with me and I can go through that in a lot more detail for you. So in terms of the course, we can move away from that now. I just wanted to let you know about it. I will just add in there just really quickly that there is a 5% discount code on the top on the website, so you can click on and get 5% off. Or if you bundled it with another course, then there is a bigger discount. But any questions on any of that, book in some time with me and I would be delighted to go through it with you. So Liam, would you like to share your slides, please?
Certainly would. So let me go ahead and start sharing. And I see a few people in the chat already. If you want to let us know where you are based on the planet, folks, to find out how global this audience is, we'd love to see where you're at today. If you're local, far away, know where your folks are located today. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And if I can get the human confirmation that you can all see my screen okay, that'd be brilliant.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So going to talk today, obviously, about CRM Analytics. Who are the right candidates for the course, why it's going to be important for Salesforce careers going onwards, and ultimately why, I don't want to quite say I fell in love with it, but why I found it a very attractive course back in the day compared to all the other stuff that Salesforce had to offer. So that'll be coming very, very soon. Most importantly, though, I want to give a couple of introductions first. So obviously, Lynn is the person you'll be speaking to. To go ahead and book the course. Lynn, can we have your introduction, please? I never would know.
You absolutely can. For those that don't already know me, and I doubt there's very many of you, I joined Supermums getting on for 12 months ago. I cannot believe where that time's gone. I am the customer success manager, so I'm here to help you and guide you, as I said previously. Prior to this particular role, I worked as a sales exec for a corporate company selling brand new property. I drove all over the world, hundreds of miles, all over the world, all over the country, hundreds of miles every day. And obviously now I haven't looked back because I did the course with Supermums and now I work here. So over to you, Liam.
Excellent. Sweet. So, give you my introduction. I think I recognise the majority of the names of the course, but my name is Liam. I joined Supermum in July 23. Wow, that year is coming up very, very soon. But it feels like longer in a good way. It's a fantastic team. Everyone feels so welcome to part of the team, so very happy to be part of this. Part of my job is instructing a lot of courses. I do the admin course, I facilitate AI, and of course, CRM Analytics as well. Before I joined Supermums, I delivered a lot of these courses on behalf of Salesforce, and I also work alongside Salesforce consulting as well. So customers who are using this product for the first time from scratch, getting them up to speed on the products. Others who are already using it, showing them how to get the most out of it, or doing some end user support as well, just to answer lots and lots of questions. So yeah, why I enjoyed this course. I was very lucky in my career. But when I first started, a year after passing my admin certification and becoming an instructor, I got given a choice to go and have a look at the entire Salesforce catalog and go and see which one would whet the whistle, my appetite that I enjoyed the most. And analytics was the one for me. previous sales background, I love the idea of looking at data, finding out how I can get the most out of it, and learning how I could then use that data to make my decisions better going forward, and ultimately do more sales back in the day. So it's not just sales orientated, it's data orientated, and we can get a look at the analytics side of Salesforce in much more detail. If anyone has any questions, by the way, I'm going to do quite a few demos and talk throughs. Raise your hand or pop them in the Zoom chat. I will keep an eye on that and see if anyone's got any questions along the way. And I know Lynn's always got some brilliant questions. So I'm expecting those, Lynn, as frequently as possible. So just to give you an overview of what to expect for this session. I think we're anticipating about half an hour, 45 minutes, depending on questions, that sort of thing. So that's the sort of time frame we're looking for. I'll give you an introduction to what CRM Analytics actually is. We'll then start to take a look at some of our key terms inside the Analytics Studio, and there will be plenty of demos along the way. I'll give you quite a few demos, the stuff that I find most fascinating about the tool, but I'm not even going to scratch the surface on what's available. There's so much more we can drill down in those certain areas, and even take a look at how this tool can support the hottest topic on the planet right now, AI. We can utilize AI in analytics in a very cool way to get even further insights. I'll talk to you about that at the end of today's session. So to kick things off, currently, the tool is called CRM Analytics. It has been called many things back in the day. Before this, it was called Einstein Analytics. Before that, it was called Analytics. It was called Tableau CRM. It was even called Wave back in the day. I'm sure it's called Wave, so I could do that in all the sessions. But the reason I call that out is because if you are looking at documentation in the past, and it's called one of those various things, it is still the same functionality. But if it's called CRM Analytics today, that means it's going to be the most up-to-date functionality we've got. So it sits on top of the Salesforce platform. It's an additional feature you can purchase through means of licenses. And because of that, licenses do cost money. So I'll put a link in the chat at the end of the session to talk about those prices for different licenses. But it takes your data exploration to the next level. We know about reports and dashboards in Salesforce. This takes it up a step further. But it's not just Salesforce data. We can input data from many different sources. It can be from other CRM tools. It can be from spreadsheets, that sort of thing. And through that, we can create data sets, which allow us to report on data in a much more collaborative way. But these are some of the tools that we have. Now, the key is it's not just Salesforce data. It will be for the demo I give today, just to take a little bit of time. But we can put information from Salesforce, CSV, spreadsheet files, or other CRM systems and pump them into the Analytics Studio. Once they're there, we can perform an ETL model, extract, transform, and load, and combine those into one big old data set. Once we've got the data set, that is the key to performing tasks, carrying out lenses, a small snapshot of the data, or I can build dashboards. And I don't just mean Salesforce dashboards, I mean analytics dashboards, which can take your data up a whole other level. And I'm going to show you a couple of demonstrations in just a moment. Any questions on that so far, Billy?
Just one from me, as you would expect. Can you get data from other CRM systems and join them with Salesforce?
Absolutely. I've worked with a couple of customers that utilize things like SAP, Dynamics, Azure, Lakehouse. There are so many different tools, even things like Amazon Web Services as well. And we can build connections to these services and have that information put directly into the CRM system for Salesforce. Yeah, absolutely. An awesome question. So in terms of the tools that we have, there's often a comparison between CRM Analytics and reports and dashboards. So I just want to talk to you about the difference between the two. And when I give you some demos as to why CRM Analytics is so much more valuable, I'm just going to load all of these so we can see them all at the same time. Now, first of all, analytics itself. We can use Salesforce data and third-party data from those places I just mentioned. We can explore information through a means of lenses and dashboards, which I'm going to show you in some demonstrations in just a moment. And I can have this information pumped into the Analytics Studio and refreshed and transformed at set intervals. I haven't got to do it manually. I can do it automatically without having to lift a finger and generate some pretty cool insights. We have assets inside the Analytics Studio. Assets are a bit like having folders in Salesforce, and that's how I can provide elements of security. If you want to replicate your security you've already got in Salesforce with things like OWDs, role hierarchies, that sort of thing, we can do that inside the Analytics Studio as well and provide access to those different levels. So in terms of what we can do with analytics, I'm going to show you a couple of demos in just a moment as to how this tool can take your data transformation to the next level. How do I access the tool? First of all, Well, the key in accessing Salesforce anywhere is having the right license and the right permissions on your profile or permission sets. The license to be aware of are these: CRM Analytics, Plus, and Growth licenses. Now, the Plus license will give you access to the studio, and then you have all the facilities to input data into the org. You have the ability to take it from different places as well. The Growth license is where you can start to use things like Einstein, Salesforce's internal artificial intelligence. We don't cover Einstein too much on the course itself because those licenses are a bit pricey and it does require a lot of data. Like I say, I'll give you a link at the end of today's session to show you the prices of those different licenses and what the difference actually is. We then give people access via permission sets. If you don't have access to Salesforce or certain areas, you're going to look at your profiles or permission sets for that purpose. And then we give access to different apps. Apps, in the same way as we have folders, is the key to unlocking access to different areas of Salesforce, particularly the Analytics Studio. I can give viewer, editor, or manageability inside the Analytics Studio, where we can access our data sets and access our dashboards, and then obviously build some pretty cool features to report on them. Okay, so I will share a little link for that a little bit later, but that's the basics just to access the studio, first of all.
Okay.
So, yes.
Sorry, I was just going to ask you one question. I'm sorry to back in. Is it like not having access to reports and dashboards folders, Liam?
Yeah, exactly the same thing.
Okay.
If you've ever built Salesforce dashboards, folders, and report folders, and you're not a member of that folder, you don't have access to the contents. Exactly the same feature here. Access to the apps and the assets in the Analytics Studio, exactly the same purpose. Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to look at a couple of the tools that we have to creating data sets. Now, a data set in analytics is the source of data that we can then build some pretty cool functionality around. There are a couple of tools to be aware of. We have some of our more historic tools, things like Dataset Builder, that can build data sets on your Salesforce data. So you can combine objects, accounts, contacts, cases, users, whatever you'd like to, put that all into a data set, and then analyze the contents, choose your fields, that sort of thing. We've also got Data Flow Editor. Now, this one is a bit more technical. You have to know things like API names there and connect up different data sources via that route. So it's not the most user-friendly, but that's okay. Because the one you're going to use from now on, particularly if you come onto the course, is recipes. Now, recipes and data prep are essentially the flows of analytics. We had our previous automation, but Salesforce is putting a lot of time and energy into recipes because we can do all the things we want to do with transforming and extracting our data in a very declarative way. On the course, the 3-week course Lynn mentioned earlier, there's only one lesson when there's a bit of code involved, and that's really only a last resort if we can't do things declaratively. The work I did with customers back in the day, everything was declarative, because I don't like code. I like clicking, dragging, dropping, typing, usually making spelling mistakes, and connecting my data that way. But we do touch a little bit of JSON code behind the back end of Salesforce, almost as a last resort. Now, we've got the pulling mechanisms. These are the ones that come out the box of analytics that we can use to retrieve data and ingest it into the studio. We've also got our third party and our REST APIs. Now, if anyone's ever used anything with APIs, or MuleSoft in particular, these are tools that I can use to push data into the Analytics Studio. So they come from the outside and push it in. We focus on the pulling mechanisms to bring data into the studio. And I'll show you a couple of pre-built data sets that I've got in my demonstration in just a moment. Any questions on those, please?
Can I butt in?
Always.
So data flow's old school. So why do we still have Data Flow Editor if we're heading towards recipes going forward?
What's the question? So the same analogy I use on the admin course. Things like workflows, process builder, a little bit outdated now. The idea is to go with the flow. You may go into a company that's using these tools, and you're going to have a baseline level of knowledge to how to use these tools, because it may be you want to convert them, extract them, change them going forward. So we give you an overview of those tools already, but ultimately, if you're building things from new, you wouldn't use them. You would go with recipes in the same way you now go building flows in Salesforce. All right. Cool. So that is building a data set, our source of data. Just a couple of key terms here that we tend to use in analytics. First of all, measure. How do we measure our data? Is it a time-based measure? Is it a scale? Is it a volume? We have different measures. How do I filter? Filter is the same way we do when we come to building reports and dashboards. Is it based on region? Is it based on time zones, stage opportunities, that kind of thing? And then how do I want to group my data? Is it based on the region? Is it based on the industry? Is it based on closing month, whatever it may be? And then we have the view. So a lens is almost like a small snapshot of our data sets, a single instance of our data. We're going to build some dashboards in a moment which will combine many different infrastructures to show lots of data in a very neat way. Okay. So what I want to do now is show you a couple of demonstrations, because we have things called widgets inside analytics. Now, the technical term for a widget, and I'm not making this up, is a thing on a dashboard. A widget is nothing without a query. Query is the retrieval for data. So I can retrieve data via a query from my data sets. The widget is all about what type of data will be displayed off the back of that. So without the query, it's nothing. And we have different types of widgets available. We have our data widgets that actually display real data, filter widgets, which can then filter any data widgets I have on my dashboard, and design widgets which don't reference any form of data. They're simply there to look good and make your dashboard look as appealing as possible. It could be some kind of company formatting, some company logo, it could be a little help text, whatever it may be. So what I want to do now is show you a couple of different versions of our widgets that we have inside the Analytics Studio, just to show you how awesome this tool actually is. So first up, I'm going to show you data widgets. With our data widgets, we can reference several different types of data widgets. We have charts, tables, and numbers that can all display data from our different data sets. They're used to track your key metrics, track things over time, track things by grouping. And what I'm going to do now is show you a little bit of a demonstration of that functionality. So I'm going to jump into my practice org. There it is. Now, one thing you'll have noticed, particularly if you've been using Salesforce for probably about 9 months now, on every Salesforce org, there's a new tab, and it's the Analytics tab. This now comes out of the box as standard for every single org on the planet, because Salesforce is investing quite a lot of time and research into CRM Analytics, and they want to make it accessible to all users. So this tab will be available for your end users to use the studio. I want to show you how to do things from a analytics point of view as an analytics administrator. So let's go and have a look together. So I go to my app launcher and go to my Analytics Studio, and this is effectively accessing the setup version of Analytics, the back end where I can build all sorts of infrastructure. Now, we've got a few data sets already in place here, and if you are interested in the course, we'll show you how to build data sets and combine them. What I want to do is show you the fun stuff. So you've got the data set already in place, how you can then display that data on a dashboard. So what I'm going to do is click on the Create button. We have the ability to choose whether it's a CRM Analytics asset or one of our normal Lightning components, so the reports and dashboards that you're probably all familiar with. So let's go ahead and build a dashboard. The nice thing with this tool, particularly if you're brand new to it, Salesforce will give you a lot of templates. I am not the most, how can I put it? What's the right way of saying it? I'm not the most creative person. I wouldn't know how to make a dashboard look good, in all honesty. I could put some pretty cool data on there, but I'd need a template to show how it looks good. You can build templates from scratch to get yourself started, and then you can start to add data to a preset dashboard. I want to show you how to do it from scratch, though. So if I build a blank dashboard, this is the behind-the-scenes view of the dashboard. On the left-hand side over here, we have a list of our different widgets. You can hover over these and work out the name of them to show what type of data it's going to be displaying. And let me show you a process of starting to add data to this tool. Let's go for a chart widget first of all, and drop this onto my dashboard. And like I said before, that is the widget. It is a thing on a dashboard until we actually have the ability to say what data is it displaying. So I click on the word chart in the middle. And the first question it's going to ask me is, Liam, where do you want to bring data from? Now, there's already some data sets built inside this practice org that's already referencing Salesforce data. Got a few here that have already been created. Let's go for the sales opportunity data as a starting point. We're now inside the query builder, and this is where I can build the retrieval for data and how it will be displayed on the dashboard. One best practice to be aware of is to name your queries. You could have hundreds of queries built inside your Analytics Studio. If you don't give it a good name, you won't know what it's for. It says query 1, query 2, query 3. I'd have no idea what that meant, literally within about 10 minutes. So let's go ahead and say, I want to show for this query, opportunities by stage. So I now have the ability down below to change the infrastructure of this query and show the display in the middle. So when we talk about bar length, we can talk about how to group our data. So let's go ahead and change that. And I'm going to say from this particular data set, let's choose the sum of opportunity amounts. So I can then see a combination of all my opportunity amounts inside Salesforce, and whichever company this is in my practice, they're doing rather well at 2 million. Let me go ahead and break this down by stage. If I then come to bars down here, this is effectively the grouping that I can break down by. And I can choose from any of the fields in this data set. Let's choose the stage. And rather quickly, I can see all the opportunity amounts broken down by stage. You can put this in ascending order by clicking on the grouping at the top here, descending order. And I then have the ability, if I'd like to customize this component. We've got a simple bar chart here. Over on the right-hand side, we have the ability to add charts. There are quite a lot of charts available, by the way. So you'll know quite a few of these already from using standard reports and dashboards, but there are plenty to get stuck into. So let's just go for one we're probably all familiar with. Let's go for that donut chart.
I have the donut. I love a bit of colour.
I do as well. I'm a very visual person. I don't like reading reports. I like colours and things that keep my attention more than 2 seconds. Probably why I liked this tool back in the day. So that's just a very simple, let's go ahead and show a chart component, the donut chart. I've then got the ability to format this. And I find the formatting takes this up the next level. I can obviously change title, fonts, that sort of thing, but I can choose so many different functions. I can choose the chart alignment. I can compact my numbers down if I want to. If I want to get rid of this little legend bar over here, let's get rid of that. Put the most space into my donut. Actually, I'm going to keep that. I find the most time you spend on this is formatting, making it look pretty. Anything else? Either way, I think that looks good. Let's go ahead and hit the done button. Yeah. And let's just go ahead and open this up a little bit on the page so we can see it. Okay. Quite nice, quite simple, very quickly done as well. You'll see as well, I've now got this queries panel appearing over on the right-hand side because I can reuse these queries. Might be able to show the same kind of information in a slightly different way. I can do that with these queries or build more ones. I'm going to go ahead and build another type of widget right now. Let's go ahead and go for a number widget. So I'll drag and drop this onto my dashboard. Let's try and make this as good looking as possible and fill the space up here. Let's go for the number again. And because I've chosen the sales opportunity data set, it's chosen that by default. You can see over here. If I want to change it for another data set, I could do so. Add data sets in here. So if you've got more than one data set, they can all be displayed on the same dashboard. Very, very flexible tool for that purpose. Let's this time just go ahead and show the total. So let's go for, once again, sum of opportunity amount. Let's go and try and find much more aesthetically pleasing.
Just for me.
Just for you, Lynn. Yeah. Let's go for a gauge. Now, the nice thing is, if you try to select one of these components as a chart, if I went ahead and tried to select that gauge, by the way, first of all, that's quite good. It tells me my total down here, shows me the breakpoints. It tells you how many groupings and how many things you need on the chart, first of all. I just need one measure here. I've already got a grouping in place. Let's go ahead and see what I can do with the trellis. Some of these words add up, by the way. Let's go ahead and break this one down. Let's do it by city and hope there's some cities in this practice org. I like the look of that. Let's go ahead and click on done and add that across. Now, because I've used that query, it's just showing me the total number. But if I want to go and add that query again, put it over here as a breakdown, I can literally drag and drop this and use it time after time. I do those clocks you see in pretty fancy offices where you select all the different times from different countries, that sort of thing. I'm sure to that. But we can reuse these queries many, many times. I'd probably put a bit more data onto that one though, just so we can actually see some information. But that gives you an idea, just of some of the tools I can have when it comes to my data widgets. Okay. I'm going to delete that though, just make a little bit of room for some of the other stuff I want to show. Right. Anybody else? Any questions on any of those data widgets I have just shown? Okay. So the key there is the widget determines what type of data is displayed. The query is actually the source for that information. Right. Going to go ahead now and talk about filter widgets. Because it may be you want to filter your analytics dashboard. We can build filters that will sit on our dashboard, and they can filter every single query on the dashboard itself. So I'm going to show you a couple of these now. Let's go for, we'll go for a list and a toggle for our demonstration. So if I go back to my Analytics Studio, once again, you're never quite sure of the name of some of these. You can hover over the top of them, and it tells you the name. There's plenty more to the more feature here as well. So let me go for a toggle. And let's put these at the top of my page. And let's say I want to choose a filter that will filter all of the data widgets I have on my dashboard. And I want to filter it by, let's see, do we have region? Do. And choose the region. Let's go ahead and open that up a little bit. So in this org, I've only got 2 regions, America and EMEA. Now, I haven't shown you yet, but if I save this, let's go and save our work. That's the best practice in itself. Let's just call this our CRM demo. And having access to the app itself is where you'll be able to access the content. So I'll just save it to my private app first. Now, if I go ahead and give a preview, the preview is what the end user will see when they come to this dashboard. If I choose the filter based on EMEA, it filters every dashboard component I have down below. I've only got one, so that might be less exciting, but I can filter by America, by EMEA, whichever it may be, and it filters all my respective widgets. And how quick is it to see that information, particularly if you've had about 20 widgets on a single dashboard?
I need this.
Yeah, a lot of people do when they realise it. So, a couple of things I want to show you now as well are the properties. So if I click on the toggle, for example, we've got all the properties on the right-hand side. This is where we spend a lot of time. Because I showed you there, for example, I click on a single selection, similar to pick lists. You can have multi-selection toggles, by the way. So if I had, say, 10 different regions and I want to show a combination of more of them, I can go ahead and choose a multi-select toggle. You've got your selection type over here. I can choose multiple selection, single selection, or say that a single selection is required by default. Okay. What I'm going to do is actually add another chart to my dashboard just so we can see a bit more of this. So let's go ahead and build another chart this time. This time I want to base it on region. So once again, rename my queries. I'm going to call this opportunities by region. Stick it to the amount that we have. So I'll stick it to sum of opportunity amount. This time for the bars, the groupings as it were, let's break that down by region.
I love your passion for this, Liam.
It's nice, isn't it? Yeah. It's not often I get to talk about it very often, so we need more courses, more people, so I can talk about it more often. Right, so let's just add that in so we can see a little bit more on my dashboard here. I would customize that to make it look better in the real world, I absolutely promise. So I've shown you toggle. I now want to show you a list widget. So once again, I've got a list widget here. I'm going to go ahead and add this to the dashboard and fill space. And if I click on list once again, remember this is a filter. So of the fields that I have inside my data set, what do I want to filter by? So we've got some information in here. I'm going to stick with region just because I know there's actually information in my org on region, so it will work as a demo. I'll choose the region this time and click on create. And it's the same way of actually presenting information, but showing it in a slightly different way. So if I click on the preview and click on the drop down, we've got our 2 options there. If I want to go back and change that now, because I think that's a bit dry, what I could do is go ahead and edit this. And instead of changing it by the region, let's base this on account name. And go ahead and update that. So let's go ahead and save that. Save our work as we go. Let's try the preview. Did I actually save my work? I did. Now, we've got toggles and lists. There's no right or wrong to actually using these. I tend to find toggles work nicely if you've got just a couple of options to choose from. Lists is quite nice at keeping data nice and tidy. So things like accounts are very good for this information. Let's go and choose one of these as a test. Let's try all about camping. And very swiftly, very nicely, it will filter all the charts I have on my dashboard. Okay. We talked about something on the course called interactions. It might be you have certain widgets, certain chart components, certain information being displayed, but it's not affected by these different widgets and list views at the top here. But we can choose to add it or not, and we actually talk about building interactions for very specific purposes. Take a pause there and sip my water. Any questions, folks, on anything there?
I think I've asked enough questions. I'm going to leave it to someone else.
I disagree, Lynn. You can ask me all sorts of questions. If anybody has got anything, no silly questions on my courses, I'm sure a lot of you will be aware. Pop them in the chat or raise your hand. I'm happy to ask. But if you just enjoy the demo, I will happily take it. So we talked about data widgets displaying data, filter widgets in displaying the right type of data. I just want to give you an insight onto some of the design widgets we have. Now, once again, these don't contain data. I just noticed there that there's 4 types of design widgets. There's 5 in that list. Who built this slide deck, eh? So we're going to go ahead and just show you a couple of design widgets just to show a bit of a flavor. Now, we can have a container widget. The container widget is just a container of other widgets. So if you want the ability to move them very swiftly without having to move individually, you can do that inside a container. Link can be an external link. It can be an internal link as well. So I may want to link this to existing Salesforce data. We can update data directly from inside the Analytics Studio. You don't have to go back to Salesforce, make some changes, that sort of thing. Image can display a company image. Text can display text, help text for our people. And navigation. Now, so far I've shown you with a dashboard, it's all on one page, and that's typically what we're used to when it comes to dashboards in Salesforce. We can have dashboards that have multiple pages, because you may have first page dashboard, which gives you all the high level details, that sort of thing. But it may be you want to have a second page which shows some more raw detail. So what you can do is build, we'll call this page 2 for our dashboard. And it could be you have multiple pages. Now, when you get to the end user perspective and they preview, they won't be able to see there's 2 pages, unfortunately. So what you can do is actually build a navigation widget that says, take me to page 1, take me to page 2, to make it a much more streamlined approach. Okay? Probably won't do any design widgets actually today because that is pretty straightforward. They all sort of cover themselves off a little bit. But it takes your data to the next level, and as you slowly start to build information on the right-hand side, these different queries will develop, and you can use these time and time again. One thing I do want to show you, because I built this from scratch, and that's taken me quite a while, so I'm going to save my work now. I just want to go and show you a dashboard template, which can save a lot of time and produce quite a nice uniform approach. So I'll go back to my Analytics Studio homepage here. I'll go to create this time. I'll go to dashboard once again. And let's go to create a dashboard template. Lynn, would you mind choosing a template for me? One of these 3. Let's try and lip read you.
Sorry. You know I'm going to choose the middle one. Sorry, I was on mute. I was having a drink of water.
That's all good. So one thing I call out as well, some of these dashboards have the little smart icon bottom right-hand side here. Because as well as just showing a visual template, I can also provide a smart dashboard, which will also ask me a couple of questions to get me started. So I'm glad you chose that one then. So if I choose the performance summary and continue, it will actually ask me a couple of questions before it builds the dashboard. And it will say, what kind of data do you want to query, Liam? What kind of metrics and data do you want to choose? So let's go and choose a couple of pieces of information. Let's stick with that sales ops data because I know there's something in that data set. For the metric, let's base this on opportunity amount.
Always good.
Shall we go for that? Yeah, let's go for opportunity amount. We can base it on a date if we'd like to. Let's base this on the created date. And if I wanted to apply any groupings, I could do so here as well. So let's just stick with the ones we know there are some data inside the org. Let's go for region. And let's go for stage. Okay. Sometimes when you come here for the first time, that button is grayed out, looks good next. If you click back and continue, usually your work is saved. It is for a live demo. And also that button does wake up slightly. So let's click on looks good. Let's call this CRM demo number 2. And I'll save it inside my private app for testing purposes. And let's go ahead and create this. These can take a few moments to spin up. inside this demo, there's not too much data, so it shouldn't take too long. But it gives us quite a nice overview to get things started. Let's go for the preview first of all.
Just like magic.
Look at that. How long would it take you to build that from scratch? It would take me a long time, to put it nicely. So already we can see quite a lot of data in place here, and you can use this as a template. If you've got people inside your org using these templates time and time again, it gives that nice, clean, uniformed approach. You can, of course, come in here and you can go ahead and edit it, so you can still have those filters, those text widgets, those display widgets, anything you like. This one, by the looks of it, comes with different pages, which is quite nice. A lot of data for a template. I quite like that one. Definitely going to use that in my next demo. But rather handily, it gets you a real good head start, particularly if you're brand new to the tool, which I know quite a lot of you will be for this particular product. Okay. Any questions about anything I have demoed in the Analytics Studio, please?
I'm sure someone must have loads of questions, Liam.
They're clearly all in all of it. No questions, just purely stunned. That's what I tell myself anyway.
Keep telling yourself.
Yeah, that's how I keep going. Okay. If there are no other questions, that's just a very, very light insight into what you'll see on the course. We spend a whole day on configuring analytics for the purpose of displaying, getting data prepared. We spend quite a lot of time preparing the data sets in the first place. Now, I don't do any of that in today's session because it takes at least an hour to prepare your data sets properly to make sure we're extracting the right data for the purpose of those dashboards. One thing I do want to talk to you about, though, is Einstein AI. Hottest topic on the planet right now. Salesforce was investing a lot of time into AI and specifically Einstein, its internal artificial intelligence, probably starting about 10 years ago. So Salesforce was quite in the know as to what will be happening into the future regarding AI. So Einstein has been very busy. And even 5 years ago, Einstein was busy working away, particularly when it comes to analytics, to do all this stuff you see on the screen. For a sales perspective, that's the one I use most because I was in sales previously, we can discover patterns in our sales. We can work out why certain sales are performing better than others historically. We can isolate the key metrics of those sales, and we can then build predictions. Einstein Prediction Builder allows me to work with Einstein and say, how can I make sure this opportunity has the best chance of closing going forward, or this lead being converted? Now, the key to utilizing that tool is the quality of your data, which is why on the course we spend so much time combining data in a very methodical way to make sure it's as clean and transparent as possible so we can get the best insights and even get recommendations. Einstein can see you are working with a particular sale and it can lend you hints and tips along the way. If you thought of this, could you try this? It works for this sale a year ago that's got exactly the same metrics. Try it this way. I would have loved this tool back in the day when I used to work in sales because it could have literally told me the next best possible action. The only limitation is the data. I can't show you this tool today because I don't have anywhere near enough data inside this practice org, but the more data you have, the better the outcomes are going to be. There is something called the readiness report, and if you want to see if you've got enough data and enough quality data, you can go to Salesforce, readiness report, see if you have enough data inside your org so that Einstein can get his teeth sunk into and give you some awesome predictions. That was the thing I probably enjoyed most about this tool I looked at all those years ago, because it would have made me a better salesperson. Any questions on Einstein discovery? Anybody? Okay. In that case, that brings me on to my last slide. Anybody got any questions about anything with regards to analytics, licenses, the demos that I've shown you, or anything about the course for me and Lynn that we can answer for you today? And if you have got anything in the meantime, I'm just going to go and get that link I said I'd share for you with regards to analytics licenses, because ultimately it will cost to have this awesome platform, and that's going to probably be the decision maker for a lot of people. Anything else you'd like to ask, Lynn, before I go and find that link?
Well, I was just going to add in there that I know I mentioned it at the beginning, but I noticed that there's a few people joined throughout the session. I am here to answer any questions or to find out the answers and come back to you if I don't know them. on the next course. The course, for those that missed it at the beginning, runs from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for 2 weeks, and Tuesday, Wednesday for the last week. So it's the 9th of April it starts. It's from 1 till 5 on those days. So if you feel like you want to join the course, ask me about whatever you need to ask me about. Come on a link and have a chat with me. My Calendly link, Jen has kindly dropped into the chat. So don't hesitate, just book in some time. Even if you just want to ask a couple of questions, just book in some time with me and I'd be, more than happy to go through them with you.
Awesome. Sounds good. I'm also going to go ahead and share an introductory trail on Trailhead as well. If you want to get stuck into Analytics Studio, start to get hands-on with the platform and almost get the appetite going as well. Just putting that link in the chat for you too. If at any point people have questions about that trail, want to find out more from me, I'm here as well. Feel free to contact us. Any questions, folks, before? Looks like we're going to wrap up today's session. Okay, Lynn, do you want to say farewell to the folks and wrap it up?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. As always, we love to see you here, and we are always happy to see you on any of our courses. So if you want any more information on anything, reach out to one of us, find us on LinkedIn. We always love to join with everybody. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, folks.